We all share the same struggle, don't we? I mean,
Yeah.
why do we keep indulging in those instant hit scrolling social media, ordering takeout, when we know they detract from our long-term goals?
And on the flip side, why is it such a monumental effort to do the things we know will pay off later, like saving money or exercising?
It almost always boils down to one simple, critical conflict: the timing of the reward.
Precisely. If you followed our discussions, you know we've covered making habits obvious, attractive, and easy. But those laws, they just get you started. This fourth and final law, this is what makes a habit stick.
So today we're doing a deep dive into that final piece of the puzzle, the fourth law of behavior change make out. Satisfying, and just as importantly, its inversion. We're tackling that fundamental conflict between our desire for instant gratification and, our long-term success.
And the foundational rule is simple. It's what is rewarded is repeated.
Right.
And what is punished is avoided. The problem for us, it's a timeline.
Yeah, the timeline. This is where that mismatch between our ancient hardware and our modern environment becomes so obvious. Our brains evolved in what scientists call an immediate return environment.
Right.
Think about our Paleolithic ancestors. Their decisions had instant tangible feedback. Did I catch the deer? Yes. Instant reward food. Did I avoid that rustle in the grass? Yes, I survived. The future was, about the next few hours.
But look at the world we live in now. It's a delayed return environment. You put in a really intense workout today, but the benefits, the lean muscle, the stamina, that won't show up for months.
Or you contribute to a retirement account. The payoff is decades away.
Exactly. So the brain is constantly being told, wait for the reward, but it's still wired to prioritize what feels good right now.
It's like a behavioral black hole.
Yeah.
The consequences of a bad habit, say eating junk food, they're delayed, but the reward, immediate pleasure.
And for a good habit like exercise, it's the opposite. The consequences are immediate soreness, effort, while the reward is way off in the future.
So the updated Cardinal rule has to reflect this bias, right? We just aren't designed to value these delayed outcomes.
Not at all. The only reliable motivator is this. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. And our sources for this, they have some incredible, very specific case studies that show us how to hack that timeline.
Okay, so if the beginning of a good habit feels like a sacrifice, we desperately need some way to bridge that gap. We need an immediate, short-term reason to stay motivated until the real rewards kick in.
And often, the simplest way is through sensory satisfaction. Just, how does it feel? Which brings us to the Karachi soap experiment, led by a researcher named Stephen Luby back in the late 90s.
Right, Karachi, Pakistan.
Yeah.
A very, very densely packed city. And at the time, sanitation issues were just rampant, leading to really high rates of illnesses like diarrhea and pneumonia.
The paradox here, and this was the core problem, was that the residents, they knew hand washing was important. They understood it intellectually. The issue was consistency.
They'd wash haphazardly the knowledge was there, but the habit just wouldn't stick.
So Luby and his team didn't just educate. They didn't just hand out pamphlets. They introduced an immediate sensory incentive.
This is the clever part. They partnered with Procter & Gamble and supplied a neighborhood with Safeguard soap. And the key was, this was a premium soap. It foamed up easily, created a rich lather, and it smelled great.
And that shift was subtle, but so powerful. Hand washing stopped being this chore for an invisible, distant outcome like avoiding sickness weeks from now. Instead, the act itself provided immediate, positive sensory feedback. The silky lather, that clean scent. The brain just registers, this feels good. I like how this ends.
And the numbers, they really confirm how well this worked. Within months, diarrhea rates fell by 52%, pneumonia by 48%. But what really tells the story of habit adoption is what happened next.
Right. The long-term follow-up. 6 years later, the researchers went back. And even though they hadn't provided any free soap for 5 years, over 95% of those households still had a hand-washing station with soap and water ready to go.
Wow. So that immediate feeling of satisfaction, that's what drove the long-term change.
Exactly. It locked in the habit.
And you see the commercial world using this tactic all the time. I mean, why do we all associate minty freshness with dental health? Adding mint to toothpaste doesn't actually make it clean your teeth any better.
No, but it creates that immediate sensory signal. That intense, clean mouth feeling is the instant reward that tells your brain, okay, job done, brushing was a success.
If toothpaste tasted like, I don't know, bland oatmeal, you'd have zero positive feedback. Consistency would just plummet.
It has to be satisfying at the end. We remember the ending of an experience more than any other part.
Okay, so beyond sensory stuff, another powerful way to make a habit satisfying is to use visual evidence of success. We need proof that we're moving forward, relative, especially when the end goal is far away.
Which brings us to the famous paperclip strategy.
Yes, I love this story. It's about Trent Deersmid, a young stockbroker in the early 90s. He knew his job came down to making tons of cold calls, which is just, it's a difficult, demoralizing task with a very delayed payoff.
Right, so he sets up this brilliant visual system. He has 2 jars on his desk. One has 120 paper clips in it. That was his daily goal. And the other is empty.
And after every single sales call, it didn't matter if it was a success or a rejection.
No. That's the key.
He would just move one paper clip from the full jar to the empty one.
That small physical act, moving the clip, it provided this immediate, tangible, visual proof that he had completed the process. It wasn't about closing the sale.
It was just about making the call.
It was about completing the action, that small, satisfying movement that reinforced the daily grind.
And the results were just phenomenal. Within 18 months, Deersmid was bringing in $5 million to his firm. That little bit of visual momentum became his immediate reward.
And that simple principle is why habit tracking is so appealing. You know, just marking that X on a calendar.
Jerry Seinfeld, right?
Exactly. Jerry Seinfeld, when he was writing jokes, he had this huge wall calendar. And the goal was just to write every single day. And after he did, he'd draw a big red X over the day.
His mantra became, don't break the chain. The focus just shifts completely from the quality of the result to the commitment to the process.
And habit tracking is so effective because it leverages all 4 laws at once. The streak of X's, that's obvious. It's a visual cue. It's attractive because we hate losing progress. And critically, the act of crossing it off is immediately satisfying. It feels like a little micro-victory.
But, you know, life happens. We all miss a day eventually, so the key has to be the recovery plan. What happens when that chain breaks?
You have to adopt one simple rule. Never miss twice. Missing once is an accident. It's unavoidable. Missing twice. That's the start of a new habit. The habit of skipping.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. We fall into that all-or-nothing trap, don't we? One missed workout, and we think, oh, I've ruined my momentum, and then we skip a whole week.
And that's the real danger. The first mistake doesn't ruin you. It's the spiral of judgment that comes after. You have to recognize that just showing up on a bad day is as valuable, maybe more valuable, than on a good day.
Just protect the progress you've already made.
Absolutely. Think of it like compound interest. On those slow, sluggish days, the goal isn't to hit a personal best. The goal is just to show up, to not put up a 0.
Even 5 minutes at the gym? Or writing one messy paragraph?
It reaffirms the most important identity. I am the type of person who does not miss my commitments.
But there is a risk with tracking, isn't there? As soon as you start measuring something, you can run into what's known as Goodhart's Law.
Yes. The law basically states, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
So you optimize for the number, not the actual behavior you want.
Exactly. If you only measure the number of hours you study, you might just sit there distracted to maximize the hours, even if you're not learning. You focus on the metric, and it can lead to the wrong behavior.
So if you're tracking weight loss and the number on the scale stalls, which it always does, that can't be the only thing that gives you satisfaction.
You need what are called non-scale victories. Maybe your clothes fit better. Maybe you have more energy in the afternoon, or your skin looks clearer. The satisfaction has to come from a more holistic view, not just that one number.
Okay, so far we've focused on making good habits satisfying. Let's flip the switch. Let's talk about the inversion of the 4th law.
Make it immediately unsatisfying.
If pleasure locks in good habits, then immediate pain or cost. That's how you break bad ones.
Pain is an incredible teacher.
Yeah.
If a failure has an immediate tangible cost, you fix the error. You fix it fast.
Yeah, but our worst habits, procrastinating, overspending, or consequences, are so delayed.
So we have to artificially inject an immediate cost to override that ancient wiring.
The sources cite this, this almost unbelievable thought experiment to force an immediate cost. Back in the 70s and 80s, a negotiation specialist named Roger Fisher.
Yes, talking about nuclear deterrence. He proposed that the nuclear launch codes be implanted next to the heart of a volunteer.
And this volunteer would carry the codes everywhere the president went. If the president ever chose to launch the weapons, he would first have to physically kill that one person with his own hands to get the code.
It's so visceral. The psychological cost is just. It's instant and undeniable. The idea was to force the decision-maker to internalize the reality of death, not as an abstract number, but in one immediate life.
And the Pentagon's response to this idea tells you everything you need to know about human psychology.
They said, that's terrible. Having to kill someone would distort the president's judgment. He might never push the button.
Which was the entire point, the power of immediate concrete pain overriding a delayed strategic outcome.
Thankfully, we don't need to go quite that far for our daily habits. But we can harness the second greatest driver of human behavior, social cost.
We care so much about what other people think of us. This makes accountability partners and habit contracts incredibly effective.
A habit contract is just a written agreement. It's signed by you and your accountability partners, and it explicitly states your commitment and the concrete punishment for failure.
There's a great example about an entrepreneur, Brian Harris. He used this to lose weight after his son was born. His contract was signed by his wife and his trainer.
And if he failed to log his food or weigh himself each day, the consequences were instant. It was a $200 fine, and he had to dress up for work, so no more comfortable jeans and hoodies.
But the stakes got even higher.
Oh yeah, they escalated beautifully. When he started missing his sprints, the penalty became he had to wear an Alabama hat for the rest of the quarter.
Which, for Harris, who was a huge fan of the Auburn Tigers,
Their bitter rival. It was a form of personalized social humiliation.
that is just brilliant. It's not some delayed, abstract feeling of guilt. It's an immediate, tangible social cost that activates that part of our brain that needs to conform and avoid shame.
Right. You're not just feeling yourself, you're feeling a contract with others and subjecting yourself to public ridicule.
You can even automate it. I read about another entrepreneur, Thomas Frank, who set up a system to automatically tweet at 6:10 a.m., "It's 6:10 a.m. and I'm not up because I'm lazy." Reply to this for $5 via PayPal.
Wow.
If he hadn't checked in by 5:55 a.m., instant public shame and a financial fine, that is a serious deterrent.
Okay, so to summarize the fourth law, we really have two parallel tracks for designing a better life.
For good habits, we have to use immediate rewards, whether it's the sensory signal of minty toothpaste or the visual evidence of moving a paperclip, to make the short-term process satisfying.
And for bad habits, we use the inversion. We impose immediate consequences. We use accountability partners and contracts to attach concrete, tangible pain. A fine, public humiliation, or, the sheer horror of wearing a rival's hat.
It overrides our brain's tendency to ignore delayed consequences.
And because we're wired to chase these quick hits of satisfaction, most people will only ever stick to habits that pay off instantly.
So by structuring your life to prioritize immediate rewards for the things that pay off later, you're literally hacking your own 200,000-year-old brain to choose the future you in the present moment.
And that leads to the final question for you to think about. We've shown how external incentives and immediate rewards can successfully start a habit. But we know that, ultimately, identity is what sustains it.
So think about the tiny, immediate reinforcement you can design into your routine today. Something that feels successful enough right now that it confirms, I am the type of person who consistently does this good habit. What small, satisfying signal will you give your brain today to solidify who you are becoming?